Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show. My name is Zach Wentz. I'm here with Jonathan Kleck. Johnny, thanks for coming in. I just want to start off, by getting your story, and so I have a couple questions prepared for you here.
Okay.
Really, just to start getting to know you. So the first question I have: where you're from and what it was like growing up in your household.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer that question from two different vantage points. I didn't know where I was from until 2002, actually, because we're all from heaven, and that was the great big reveal the Lord gave me. But into this place that we call the earth, we call humanity, I was born in Frankfurt, Germany. So briefly, I was born in Germany, Frankfurt, Germany, and I grew up part of my life there, came to the States, went back to Germany, and eventually ended up back in San Antonio. But my young life was pretty good. I mean, out catching frogs and snakes and fishing and doing the things that I guess what I perceive young boys to be out doing.
Yeah.
That's what we did. Me and my brothers, I had three brothers, so we were always out fishing, catching wild animals,
Very cool.
doing that kind of stuff. And then, I ended up in San Antonio for my young adult life in parochial school and high school. So
Sure.
that's where it kind of started
Yeah.
here in SA.
Well, speaking of your young adult life, the very first piece of content I saw from you was a promotional video for Vampire Sunglasses. Yeah, so during watching that piece of content, it was mostly focused on girls with vampire fangs and skydiving and sky surfing and all these different sky sports.
Right.
Could you describe how this company was established and explain the idea behind the sunglasses?
So I'm just gonna back up a little before the sunglass marketing. I got married to a young lady named Dorothy Mace. She died of cancer a year after we were married for 1 year, and then she ended up having a brutal form of cancer, and she died from it. And I was with her during that whole process, and it was absolutely, it was heart-wrenching to watch the person that you had dedicated your future to, and then she died of cancer. She had a very severe form of cancer. She was diagnosed June 15th, 95, died December 15th of 95. From that point on, I had been working on Vampire Sunglasses the whole time she was sick. That's where the whole Vampire Sunglasses thing came about. I had to have something to do, and because I had previously done some intellectual property stuff called Psycho Socks and failed, I had learned more how to do it and avoid pitfalls, learned about non-disclosure agreements, learned stuff like that and how to protect your product. So anyway, long story short, I was down in South Padre Island living there, and I walked out of my house one morning and I looked at the sun, having been up all night with some friends partying.
Yeah.
Yep, and the sun was so bright. I looked up and said, my God, I need some sunglasses for effing vampire. That's what I said.
Yeah.
And when I said that, I went, oh my gosh, wait a minute. Vampire sunglasses. So I conceived the idea down in South Padre Island, and then after that, when Dorothy got sick, I needed something to work on, so I worked on Vampire Sunglasses, and I named it Vlad Eyewear because I was in a litigation with a company called Skis Authier over the trademark. So long story short, I won the trademark dispute, and I ended up with the name Vampire for sunglasses and all the trade dress. That means I could use images of vampires, all vampire-related paraphernalia in whatever my advertising was, as long as it was related to sunglasses. And so anyway, so that was the beginning, and I worked on it the whole time Dorothy was sick. Then she passed away. Once she passed away, I just didn't care about the whole been sold, you meet the right girl, you get married. That whole dream just went away immediately. Yeah. And I began skydiving. Long story short, just my secretary, once I was starting off on Vlad Eyewear, she was married and had 2 kids, but she was also a dancer. She did it to make extra money. Her name was Casey. She's very nice. So I'd had this kind of wild life. I was bouncing, between the drop zone And my house, I'd gotten involved in a relationship with a young lady that was a stripper from the club that Casey worked at, and she had totally orchestrated. She put her phaser on full kill, and that guy's going to be mine, and his sunglasses and everything he owns, I want part of, because she had lied to me about birth control. She told me she was on birth control, and she was not on birth control, and she purposely lied because I was training for the X Games, and I was going to go train to be a pro sky surfer for the X Games. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, I ended up with several children with her, but I told her I would never ever marry her because she was the most deceitful person I had ever met. And so I was like, I'm never gonna marry you. Wow. And I told her that, and she said, I don't care if you marry me. I don't care if you have your own girlfriend, just marry me. And I just thought that was so sad and just pathetic. I was like, you know what? That's horrible that you would want someone to marry you and you're like, they can have a girlfriend, just marry you. I was like, this is just, the whole relationship was just so not right. So anyway, I told her, I said, you know, I have a girlfriend, but I will take care of the children. But the children were a tool for her to try and manipulate everything about my world. And I realized that, and I knew it was never going to change. And so I filed for custody for my children. At that time, I had met a girl that was from the DuPont family, and she and I got along super great. And I mean, we were just a little two peas in a pod. So I met Eleuthera Anderson, and before we got married, that's when the Lord called me, and we ended up having a son together.
Sure.
So that's kind of the general layout.
So upon doing research on your channel and watching some of your content, you hear a lot about this Eleuthera, specifically about a night at the St. Anthony Hotel downtown. Do you care to walk us through those events of what happened while you were with your girlfriend at the time?
So you guys can get, by the way, all this stuff's available on the Collect Files. You can go see the whole testimony. But again, I had started cracking open, and I had started manifesting some abilities that weren't normal. I was seeing stuff that was almost indicating there was something more to life than what I was perceiving, and I was like, what's going on? And someone had showed me the $20 bill, that the bombings of the Twin Towers was printed as an image on the $20 bill. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that's the Twin Towers on the $20 bill. And something inside of me was so just awakened inside of me, like, why is the bombing of the Twin Towers on the $20 bill? So anyway, I'd started showing it to some people, you know, where I would hang out, and people I'd talk to at the clubs, bars and stuff, bartenders I knew. And very strange things started happening. I mean, very strange things. And I started seeing the same people at places that they shouldn't be, and it's almost like I was being stalked. It was very odd. It was, some people call it gang stalking now. And I was like, why are these people here? I saw them earlier today, and why is this person here at TJ Maxx? I saw them at the health club today. It was just bizarre. So anyway, so I started noticing some very strange anomalies, and I started asking some questions, and then out of nowhere, I was in a couple high-speed chases, and the first one was, I was on Highway 410, and this car came up next to me, alongside of me, and then a truck pulled in front of me, and in the back of it, and I was like, what are these guys doing? They're like boxing me in. So the truck pulled in front of me, the car pulled alongside of me, so I was boxed in the right lane, and then in the back of the truck, there was a round cylinder, and it had holes in it, and it just went boom, and it opened up, and it looked like a crop duster scene on the highway. There was just all this dust coming out of that cylinder, and it was covering the car I was in, and I was doing evasive driving. I was like, what in the hell are these guys? Who are these guys? And the guys next to me were obviously with the guys in the truck, keeping me blocked in. And my next thought is, what the hell is this stuff they're dusting me with? You know, is it poisonous or da-da-da-da-da? So anyway, after a very serious high-speed chase, I was able to get out of that situation. And then within probably a week, I was in another high-speed chase with the same group of people. And I was just like, what in the hell is going on? Like, I didn't recognize the people because I'd had kind of a past and I dealt with, people that were probably, part of organizations that I just don't want to talk about on camera. That I was like, is it them or is it these other factions that I had crossed, entered into their circle of their sphere of influence or whatever?
Sure.
And so I didn't know what I had done, but I couldn't determine who they were. And then I got a good look at the people I was in the high-speed chase with the second time, and they were wearing suits. And one of them I knew to be like a manager of a huge company called Waste Management here in San Antonio. And I was like, what in the hell is going on? And they were wearing suits like feds, but then I'm like, if they're feds, they're gonna turn the lights on. They're not just gonna chase you, they're gonna turn the lights on in the car and pull you over. No lights. Second time, the second chase I was in, they had to have some kind of radio tag on my car because I lost them several times in the chase. I lost them, and we're doing 90 miles an hour through residential. I mean, anything could have happened bad. Someone could have pulled out, kid could have crossed the street. It could have been horrible.
Sure.
So anyway, I lost them repetitively, but they kept picking me up. And I was like, they've got a tag on my car. So I abandoned my car. And I abandoned my car and I called a friend of mine and had him come pick me up. And he picked me up and then I got a hold of my girlfriend and she was the DuPont. So Lou, I was instantly concerned for her well-being. Sure. So I was like, okay, we got to get you out of town. So I went and got a room at the St. Anthony Hotel downtown. I wanted to be in a very public, very high-profile place, high dollar, security, lots of cameras.
Sure. So let me just try to make sure I'm all caught up. So there you are on the second high-speed chase. Okay. Yep. You have ditched your car. Yep. You're with Eleuthera and you bring her to the St. Anthony Hotel downtown San Antonio.
I borrowed a car from a friend of mine.
And at this point, you've evaded the people that are chasing you, and you're stuck up at the St. Anthony looking for your next move.
Well, what I'm doing is I've called Lou's dad, and I said, something's going on. I have no idea what I've cracked open. Obviously, I'd cracked something open, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't understand the relationship. Like, why are these people the people in these chases? I didn't understand that. So anyway, I called her dad and said, I need to get her out of town. She needs to come home to you guys. I was very honest. I was very upfront. And so I got her a plane ticket leaving town the next day. And then I went to the St. Anthony as a safe place to put her, not myself. I told her, I said, I'm going to leave you here. You're safe here. They are not after you. They're after me. And so I'm going to go home to my place. I'll leave you here at the St. Anthony. I'll go home to my place and then I'll deal with whoever these people are. Whatever the situation, I was going to have it unfold on my property. So, whatever my legal rights would be more intact.
Sure.
If anything odd was to happen, yeah.
And did you ever make it to your house?
No. So I was at the hotel and it was approximately 12 a.m. and I was there with Lou and just going like, what in the hell is going on? And then I told Lou, I said, look, you're leaving in the morning and then, I'll figure out who these people are. I'll call you when I know what's going on and we'll figure out what to do. And while I was talking to her, this blanket of invisible energy just descended on me. And I started looking at my arms and my hands and I was going like, what is this? And it was like a blanket of invisible energy, like just a blanket falling on me. And I was looking at my arms going like, what in the world is this? And then right then I heard Jonathan read the tags and the clothes you're carrying. So I had a couple of shirts under my arm like tucked in, and while I was sitting there going like, what in the world is this? I heard read the tags and the clothes you're carrying. So I threw the clothes down on the bed, and I read the tag of the first shirt. I think it was a Johnny Blaze baseball jersey.
Sure.
And the tag in the back, like right here where it says what it's made of, it said 100% nylon. 100% nylon. And when I heard that voice tell me, read the tags and the clothes you're carrying, as soon as I heard it, I kind of looked at the ceiling, and then I looked over at Lou. She was standing right next to me. And I said, some source is communicating with me, and he's telling me to read the tags in the clothes I'm carrying. And I thought, either I've lost my mind, I've gone off the deep end, which is a real possibility. And I said, or something so far beyond my brain is going on right now. And I just was like, but because of that blanket of energy thing, it was measurable. It was tangible.
Sure.
It was like you could feel like someone touching you. Because of that, I was like, oh my gosh. So I threw the first shirt down, and I read the tag, and it said 100% nylon.
And what was the message that you received from that?
Well, yeah, when I read 100% nylon, I went, I've lost my mind. I just, as soon as I read 100% nylon, I went, okay, maybe I've lost my mind. And I went, so because that voice had said, read the tags, as soon as I said the words 100% nylon out loud, I went 100% nylon. And then I had to mentally grapple with maybe the fact I was losing it. And I went, okay, and then I looked at the ceiling, and I said, that doesn't make any sense. And then he said, turn it upside down. And I went, turn it upside down. And I looked down at the shirt, and I looked at it, and I went 100%. And I'm looking at the word nylon, and I'm like, what does he mean, turn it upside down? Turn nylon upside down. So then I turned the whole shirt upside down, and I sounded out the word nylon upside down and backwards. And I went, no lion. And right when I said those words, like no lion, my body reacted in such an insane supernatural way. I knew I was in the presence of another being. There was zero doubt. I was like, my body was just like, you got it. And then I went, 100% no lying. Like no lion, N-O-L-Y-N. And then I went, oh, no lying, 100% truth, like 100% no lying. And then my body just went, just started buzzing all over. I'm like, whoa. And then I heard read the other tag. And there's another, I put this other shirt down, I looked at it, and it had a triangle with an X through it. It was like a washing instruction or something. And it was a triangle with an X through it. And then I heard the Lord say, the pyramid is your enemy. I was like, the pyramid is my enemy. And then my whole body just lit up, just like zzz. And when that happened, I was like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, and then it kind of dissipated. And I'm sitting there going like, what's going on? What is this? Like, what does that mean? Well, okay, 100% no lying, and the pyramid's my enemy. Okay, now what? You know? And then I'm like, looking around, Lou's looking at me like, are you okay? You know, I was just like.
So she's standing there watching you speak to this spirit that's indwelling you with an invisible sheet of his energy.
Yeah, he's encompassing me. So the only way to describe it was I was completely encompassed, and it was through me and around me all at the same time.
Sure.
It was around me and through me all at the same time.
So just trying to wrap my brain around all of this, what does that voice inside of you sound like? What kind of voice is that?
I don't know how to explain that to, it's like sky surfing, you know, it's like, how do you explain to someone what sky surfing is that's never done it?
Sure.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
It's a thought and a voice, but it's not from you. Like,
Sure.
is your thought generated from your own head, or did the thought or the voice generate from another location into your head?
Sure.
And so it was like, well, this was all around me and through me, and it wasn't what was the previous way of generating my own thoughts or
Sure.
hearing
So
my-
it's not necessarily a voice like you're hearing my voice right now,
no.
but something that is in you and it's just sort of there and it's just inside of you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So what happened after that? You read that the pyramid's your enemy, 100% nylon,
Right.
turned upside down to no line.
Right, so that's when, this is the night I got saved, and so at that point, I was like, okay, well, I don't know what the hell's going on now, but okay, Lou, I'll call you. I gotta go, and I was like, I don't know I was just honestly like, so I kissed Lou like I'm gonna leave, and then I walk out the door, and I go to the elevator, and there's a triangle with an X through it, identical to what's in the identical to what was in the back of the shirt. And I look at it, and there's a guy walking down a set of stairs, like 3 stairs, and there's 3 flames in front of the guy walking down the stairs, and it was a plaque on the wall by the elevator, and it said, "Do not use stairs." And I heard, "Go down the stairwell," and I'm like, "What?" And so I went and I got Lou, because I was right down the hall from the door she was in, the room she was in, and I said, knock, knock. She came out. I said, "Come here, I want to show you something." And she came over there, and I go, "Look, there's that same X with a triangle with an X through it." And she looked at it and she goes, "That is weird." She said, "That's really weird." And then I heard Jonathan go into the stairwell. And she was with me, and I'm like, he's telling me to go into the stairwell. Well, we were in this like, so there's a long main hall that runs the length of the hotel, like the face of the hotel. And then there's these halls that go like this way, like a W or whatever. Anyway, so we were in that main long hall, and the stairwells are at one end or the other. And so when I heard go into the stairwell, I was just like, we probably look like Dorothy and the Cowardly Lion walking through Oz.
Sure.
I was probably holding my tail. I was just like, what the hell, dude? So anyway, yeah, we walked the length of the front of the hotel. We're on the 10th floor, I think. And then we got to the stairwell, and we went into the stairwell. And as we went in, I could hear the Lord just telling me, just keep going. It was like, keep going. And I was looking everywhere for like some kind of sign or direction. Like, what am I doing? Like, what are we doing in the stairwell? And then we got to the 3rd floor, and the stairwell ended. It did not go down any further. You would have to exit the stairwell and be on the 3rd floor. But in the stairwell, there was a little hallway that went to the side of the hotel, like where the parking is under the where they park cars at the St. Anthony. But it was on the side of the hotel facing, one direction, not out the front of the back door, but the side. And when I went to that window, I heard the Lord say, "Look out the window." And there was a window there. And I looked out the window, and then parked down on the ground was the guys I was in ISB chase with. I'm like, what? And they were parked in front of an art gallery, and the lights were on. It was like, 11:38 p.m., almost 12. It was late. And the lights were on in the art gallery, and there was a big painting on the wall, like giant painting. And so the car's parked on the curb, but you can see the whole art gallery behind the guys because it's all lit up at night. And there's a painting of an Arab king and an Egyptian king. Like really intricate paintings, big paintings. And I heard the Lord say, "Those are your enemies." And I was like, what? Because the guys in the car I knew were the guys from the high-speed chase. And I'm like, yeah, those are my enemies. And they're in suits like feds. Like they were like feds. But no one ever pulled out a badge and said, "Hey, whatever." So anyway, not in my other encounters, but there they were. And they're parked in front of these 2 big paintings. And I heard the Lord say, "Yeah, those are your enemies." And I was like, what does that mean? Like, somehow the guys in the car were equal to the paintings somehow.
Sure.
Like they were part of something.
And that ties back into the pyramid is your enemy that was in the...
Yes, exactly, because the pyramid is your enemy. Well, there's a big painting of an Egyptian king and an Arab king, and here's these guys, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And so anyway, we were blocked, and as soon as I saw those guys, I was like, okay, this is a bad situation. That means they're watching all the exits. So that means if I can't walk out the front door because they'll pick me up. Lou certainly can't go out with me. So I was like, okay, I got to get us out of here. I got to get out of here without them knowing. And so we exited the stairwell. We went all the way down that front, all the way down the face of the hotel on the 3rd floor, all the way to the opposite end of the hotel. There's a stairwell there, and I opened it up and I went in there. And it was under construction. And they had plywood up, so you could not go down to the 1st floor again, because it should have been open, but it was blocked off. It was under construction. And they had this plywood they had an access to the back of the hotel that would come out in the alley. Mm-hmm. And there was a big door there, and it said, "Do not open, door alarm will sound." And Lou was with me, and I was like, oh my God, these guys are here, I've gotta. And then I heard in my spirit so clearly, "Jonathan, open the door." And I was like, what? Open the door. And I looked at Lou and I was like, Lou, he's telling me I need to open the door. And I was looking around for any visual, I'd already seen these 2 tags, and he's communicating to me through tags on clothing. And I'm like, what? And so I'm looking for anything that would help me understand. And then I kept hearing, "Open the door." And Lou kept going, "Don't open the door." And she's standing behind me, and she's grabbing my shoulder going, "Don't open the door. They'll kill us." And I said, "You don't have to go. I've got to go." I wanted to know this entity that had shown me 100% no lying. I knew that that entity was the truth. And I wanted to know the truth of what was going on. What was the reason for having me invert the shirt? What was the reason for showing me that? And the only way to know was to open that door. So I was just like, I was literally in tears. I was praying. I was actually saying, "Jesus, tell me what to do." And he said, "Jonathan, open the door." And then Lou said, "Don't open the door." Because I said, he's saying, "Open the door." Every time he'd tell me, "Open the door," I was like, "I'm going to open the door." And she'd say, "Don't open the door." And I said, "Lord, tell me, Jonathan, open the door." And he literally just grabbed my body and just pushed the door open.
It felt like somebody moved you to open this door.
It felt like him inside of me opened the door.
Wow.
And like, "Here, I'm going to help you."
Sure.
Here, let me
open the door.
Like, let me help you open that door. I'll push it open for you.
Sure, understood.
Like, I'm with you. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so I opened the door, and as soon as I opened the door, all the stress and all the anxiety was gone. I didn't even care about the guys that were at the end of the hotel. It said "alarm will sound" on that door. Big, big sign. "Do not open door, alarm will sound." And so when the alarm didn't go off, there was no woo, woo, woo. And I opened the door, and then it was like, just like,
You found peace once you opened that door.
Once I opened the door, I was totally at peace. I didn't even care about the guys at the end of the hotel. They were gone. The whole mental process of, if I open this door and I go out this door and the door shuts, I'm going to be in an alley. These guys are going to come from that side. Guys are going to come from the other side. They're going to have guns, and I'm going to be gunned down in that alley. That's all there is to it. That's what was going through my mind. And I was like, because the high-speed chases that we were in, they were deadly. People could have died for sure. And so I was like, if they're willing to do that, if they know that I'm in that alley and they know they got me in the alley, why would they not kill me? Obviously, because the high-speed chases, they were deadly chases. People should have died. So anyway, once I got out that door, there's a little ladder that went down a couple steps, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 steps. And then I started walking, and there was a horizontal walkway. And as I started walking on it, it was counterbalanced, and it went like this, boom. and it turned to a set of stairs, and I went geez in the metal and there's a song by U2 called this Stay Far Away So Close. The bang and the clatter as an angel hits the ground. That's the best way I can ever describe it. There was a bang and there was a clatter and I hit the ground and I knew I was not of this world. And the second it hit the ground, standing there, right there when I stepped off, was this guy, but I knew he wasn't just a guy. I knew he was angelic.
Sure.
He was angelic. People say, what did he look like? The best I could tell you is like, if you ever saw the movie Kingdom of Heaven, there's the right-hand man of Sahaladin. His name is Alexander Sedig, I think. And he plays the right-hand man of Sahaladin in the movie Kingdom of Heaven, but his name's Alexander Sedig. I can't say that he looked just like Alexander Sedig, but that's the vibe kind of that he had. Just, he had this real peaceful,
Sure.
otherworldly, Middle Eastern, but not Arabic. It's hard to explain.
Now, this wasn't the guy chasing you.
No.
This was just a guy at the end of the stairs that turned into stairs.
As soon as the steps hit the ground that were counterbalanced, he was like waiting for the steps to hit the ground.
And you had an intuition knowing that he was some sort of angelic.
Oh, I knew he was an angelic being. He stepped right up to me, looked right in my eyes. He took total control of my mental everything, and he looked right in my eyes and he said, "Jonathan, pray with me, my brother." And when he said the words, "Pray with me, my brother," there was zero doubt. He was my angelic brother. I knew he was an angel. He knew that I knew he was an angel. I knew I was an angel. And we prayed Our Father to heaven, and then water and light came down on me. Like, it just moistened me. It wasn't like a big downpour. It was like water, like kind of like a sprinkle coming down on you.
Yeah.
And you could see it in the light coming down. It was part of the whole visual.
Wow.
Like if you look at drizzle and you're standing out at night and there's a big light and you see it in front of the light, you can see all the little droplets.
Yeah.
It was like that. It was just all coming down on me. And I was so mesmerized. There's a scene in the Passion of Christ where the guy Cassius, I think, puts the spear in Jesus after his death, and then water comes out and hits him in the face.
Yeah.
And then he goes like, and he just drops to his knees and is like,
Yeah.
that was me. I always think I wish I could go back and experience it again,
Yeah.
because it was the first time in my life I've ever been alive. I thought I was alive, but I wasn't even alive, and I didn't even know it. But then once that happened, I was like, I was like, what just happened? Like, I'm alive. And then I looked up and I looked around at the alley and everything, and I was like, what am I doing here? Kind of like, from a heavenly point of view, like, what am I doing here exactly?
Yeah.
Like, in this body.
Sure.
I was like, okay, we're not in Kansas anymore, yeah.
Some sort of reality shift.
It was a complete reality shift. It was actually shifting to reality, where I'd been living a non-reality my entire life, and all of a sudden I shifted to reality, and I wasn't at all what I thought I was.
Sure.
That's it.
So once this angelic person says, "Pray with me, my brother," and you guys pray Our Father, what happens next for you?
Yeah, so then it took me a moment, obviously, just to handle what had happened. And then after he saw that I had processed and I was sitting there just still stupefied, he looked at me and said, "Now you say Hail Mary." Now here's the part people have twisted, and I don't like the people that have done this. I've always maintained, always, I was born and raised Catholic. I was, from a little boy all the way up, I was taught to pray the Hail Mary. There was nothing wrong with it ever in my world to pray a Hail Mary. Now here's the point. he and I prayed Our Father. Water and light came down on me. I was born again with life. I had never been alive before. I thought I was alive, but I wasn't. Now I was alive, and I'm like, wow. And then he tells me to say a Hail Mary. And when he told me that, I looked at him like, why? How would I even think that? Like, why? It's wrong. How would I even think that?
Wow.
Why would I look at him and go like, why? And he looks at me and he goes like, do it. He even took a little step away from me. My joke has always been, you know, sorry. Yeah, but he took a step a little bit away from me as I said those words, and I was looking up, saying the words, same as when I said the Our Father, but instead of any water and light or anything, I felt life and light leaving my body. I was like, no, because I could feel it like dissipating.
Wow.
And I was like, and then I knew where death came from. Somehow death came from praying to a female virgin, you know, goddess figure. Because when I said those words, I felt death. When I just said Our Father, I was filled with life. And then being told to say the Hail Mary, how would I ever even think it was wrong? But I knew it was wrong. But he told me to do it anyway. And as I did it, then it was like, okay, then I knew the difference between life and death.
Sure.
Right then and there. So now, and then he looks at me and I'm thinking, well, okay, like what's next? But I'm a different I'm a totally different being all of a sudden. I mean, I'm a different being. I'm not even the same being I was. And this guy is standing there and he looks at me and he goes, you look like you need some water. You should go to the bus station and get some water. And I looked at him and I went, I will go to the bus station and get some water. You know, like, beep, beep, you know. He just said it and it was like, him telling me was like, I can't explain it. It's almost like he's in control of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when he said, you look like you need some water, you should go to the bus station and get some water. I was like, I'll go to the bus station and get some water. And I just turned around to go, like I'd been sent by him. He's like, go to the bus station and get some water. And as I started walking, Lou reached and touched me on the shoulder. She had been off in the wings. She disappeared from my sight. But as soon as I started walking, I felt her touch me and I yanked my arm away from her. That would be so uncharacteristic. So I yanked my arm away from her and I said, don't touch me. I'm walking with the Lord, don't touch me. I'm walking with the Lord, don't touch me. I told her 3 times not to touch me. I was like, yeah, it's because that conversion that had happened, I knew with the spiritual being inside of me, to him, she was unclean. And I could perceive it.
Wow.
And I was like, that, yeah, it was the strangest thing in the world. So that was the point at which I got converted. There's a lot more to it after that.
Oh, I'm sure. And that's a pretty intense beginning story, you know. So if you don't mind, maybe we can take a small break and we'll come back and just kind of continue off wherever you're comfortable.
Right. So one thing I want to leave off with is this. So if you go back to the night I got saved, Our Father in heaven, water and light, and I'm born again and I'm full of life. Then I say the Hail Mary and I feel death. Life and death, up and down, good and evil.
Yeah.
Right then and there, I knew the difference because I prayed to a male figure life, female figure death. Okay, right then and there. Now, if you go look at the entire ministry, all these years, that's been the revelation of the entire ministry. That's what's the Vatican that worships, they worship the Virgin. The whole building's a snake.
Oh.
The serpent is Satan. So anyway, the night I got saved bears witness to every bit of the data from that point on till now. So,
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time thus far. I really appreciate it. And yeah, man, we'll continue on.
all right.
Thanks.
Yep.